Welcome to Chapter 4 lecture videos. For this chapter, I made a quick little introductory video to give you a couple of announcements and some pointers for our course. First of all, the figures in my lecture slides may not match up with the textbook as far as figure numbers go. All of the pictures from the book should be the same as the lecture slides, but the way that they are numbered is going to be different because we have updated editions since I made this lecture originally. Also, some of the section numbers might not line up exactly. For the most part, they should be the same. If I happen to reference a page number in especially some of the other videos in this chapter, because not all of them are being updated this semester, they may be slightly off. So you might have to do just a little digging. If I do that and you notice that there's a page number that is off, please let me know so that I can make sure that I do update the slides and get everything updated for our new textbook edition. Second, how should you study for this course? Well, I hate to say it because everybody gets angry and rolls their eyes at me, but you do need to do some memorizing. Now, studying is not just rereading the lecture slides or rereading your notes 100 times. It's also not reading the book 100 times, which most of you aren't going to do anyway. Studying is memorizing facts. It is linking concepts together, and it is forcing yourself to retrieve information. And if you are working through a process of memorizing, you are working through a process of retrieval. And when you force your brain to practice retrieving information, you're going to be able to more quickly recall it on the exam. Basically, what I'm saying to you is you have to interact with the material in this course. You cannot just hope that if you stare at it long enough on the page, it's going to sink in. You have to do some active studying. You have to do some active quizzing of yourself, purposely memorizing, and also thinking about how things relate to one another. The other thing you have to keep in mind is that although our final and our exams are not cumulative, the concepts are. So if you get behind in a chapter and you decide, you know what, I'm not even going to worry about it, it's possible that you are going to need to recall that information later. So if you are, especially in these earlier chapters, not getting a good foundation, you're going to struggle later when we come back to many of these concepts over and over again. If you need some tips on active studying, please come see me or go to the Success Center. I know some people are like, oh, the Success Center. I promise they are fabulous, but you have to go in there thinking, yes, they can help me. They can give me some pointers. If you happen to be in a weird situation where you don't feel like it was effective to go over there, please come talk to me. I'm more than happy to sit down with you and go over some techniques for studying or whatever it is that you might need help on. Lastly, this chapter and a few others in our book are really long. And when the textbook is really long, it's hard for me to cut it down and get it into a roughly 1 hour, 30-minute lecture section. The reason is they just cram so much material into some of these chapters when in other biology courses they would be maybe 2 chapters. So bear with me, there are absolutely going to be things from the book that I don't talk about in the lecture. There is guaranteed to be stuff in your study guide that I don't talk about in the lecture. That's not to say those things are not important, because everything that they present helps to give you a bigger picture of what's going on. So just because I don't say it does not mean it's not important. If you find something in your study guide that you're like, man, I don't know what this is, it's probably because I didn't talk about it in lecture, but it is probably still important. And you might have to do some active learning. You might have to go over to your textbook, find it, and read it. Now, in general, I'm going to focus my tests and my homework on the lecture materials, but you are still responsible for understanding the background information and how this stuff fits together, unless I say specifically you can ignore this section. There is one section in this chapter on tonicity and how cells maintain water balance. We're ignoring that in this chapter. And if I say ignore it, you can ignore it. But otherwise, you might have to do a little bit of work to get all the information that you need to know. That's pretty much it for my announcements for chapter 4. I won't do this every time, but early in the semester is a good time to give you heads up on some of these things. So go ahead and move on to the chapter 4 lecture videos here, and they will focus on biology content.